Information sharing. Can technology really help to save costs and boost bottom line efficiency? Well, what worked yesterday isn't necessarily going to work tomorrow. Brands are constantly seeking innovation to stay ahead of the curve. Embracing cutting-edge technology has gained more traction than ever, which is eventually helping brands to function efficiently on all fronts. The possibilities are absolutely endless, but is it as easy as it seems? Can technology and profitability go hand in hand? And will technology truly deliver on its promises and pave the way to a robust future? Join us as we venture into the realm of tech with seasoned executives as they discuss and unravel the true face of technology and the cost at which it comes. To moderate this panel session, please welcome up, he is the founder of Oraculi and non-executive director of Ezio, David Singleton, who's going to moderate and introduce you to our panelists. Let's give him a nice warm welcome.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. I was a bit worried earlier. There was about 4 people in the room, so I don't know where you all came from, but thank God you're all here. But it's really good to be kicking off this event for the 3rd year, and thank you for Minnie for bringing you all here. We're going to have a stimulating conversation on tech in a few minutes with some friends, and a few people have been asking me what it is I know about tech. Well, ladies and gentlemen, very little. I've spent my life running restaurants and building brands and high-performing teams around the world. But what I do now as a portfolio board advisor and a transformational growth coach, what I do know is I have to surround myself with experts in everything that I am not. But what my new career, doing what I'm doing now, is that I've been able to bring tech into my career as a non-exec director and in other areas in my coaching world. If I take Scylla Insights, I don't think Scylla are here today, but Scylla are an AI-powered platform that reads sentiment, but not just any sentiment. They read all the Arabic dialects. And so that's been a fascinating business to be working with, very innovative. And as a non-executive at 8 Clouds, this is another business where we've launched FutureByte, where we have a digital transformation company, and alongside that we have Ezio, which is an HR and people solutions platform. So I think I do know a little bit. But working with these Dubai-based entrepreneurial startups is truly inspirational. So it won't come as a surprise to those who know me that I have an opinion on technology, helping to save costs, etc. But what better to do than to surround myself with some super talented leaders to help talk us through that. So why don't all our panelists come up to our little coffee lounge here and let's get this show on the road. This is the comfiest stage I've ever sat on, and we've got 57 minutes, 57 seconds to enjoy it. So I think the audience here knows pretty much everybody, and so we're going to get straight into it. Phil, is that all right? Yeah. So, can technology really help save costs and boost bottom line efficiency? What's your take on that? Kick it off for us.
All right. I think we're all talking about saving costs. We're all talking about saving costs and improving efficiency, and I think sometimes in the hospitality business you have to look at how do we drive top-line sales, drive engagement with our people, and too often technology is looked at as just purely driving efficiency. And I think nowadays, I look at going to a restaurant now, and the experience has changed dramatically over the past 2 or 3 years. With you have to scan the code, and then your Wi-Fi doesn't work, and then no one comes to you, and then you have to click what you want, and you miss going through the grape juice list. So I think there's 2 sides to it. You've kind of got, yes, efficiency to drive the business profitability, but how do you drive top-line sales through technology?
Yeah. Who else wants to add to that?
I did think it was interesting, because we're talking about efficiency,
yes,
that he had to use 2 microphones.
Yeah.
So kind of an interesting point as somebody who operates restaurants and is not in the tech space. I find that there are so many tech solutions finding a way to synthesize those into real return on innovation. Lots of innovation out there, innovation in the room, lots of great solutions, but really looking at that. So not an answer necessarily. I guess my answer would be it can. The question is, will it? But I did think it was interesting that we're talking about efficiency, and it took 2 microphones for him to
And we are
share his
surrounded by
wisdom.
tech in the room, aren't we? I mean, I was stopped all along the way by these incredible vendors we've got here. We're going to have tech thrown at us, left, right, and centre, aren't we? And I've got 3 EPOS systems. I've got a stock system solution. I got something to help me with my rosters. I got everything thrown at me. Oh my goodness. Ashish, you've had plenty of time on the roads this morning to think about this.
Well, I'm biased, but the fact is that try speaking without both the mics, and I think that's the role of tech. That's inevitable. I do believe, I think over last 12 years of me running restaurant tech, and I've been a restaurateur before, so I can wear that hat for a little while. I think technology has become as necessary as, how restaurants back in the day were all about location, and then food. And, how that has shifted, where location has kind of becoming immaterial to a certain extent, not fully out yet. And efficiency is actually, covering for, time efficiency is covering for the taste. So if you're making a decently okay burger, but you bring it to my plate in 25 minutes, I forgive you. But if you take 45 minutes, your burger better be one to die for. And the game between 25 minutes to 45 minutes is actually what is deciding the fortune or misfortune of a lot of brands. So I think technology can speak for itself.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it, between tech and human intervention and personality. We were talking about that this morning, weren't we? What's your take on that?
And we had a bit of a chat last night, and I was mentioning words matter, the difference between perspective and perception. And we've already had 2 much wiser, much smarter speakers than myself talk about efficiency. By the way, he did 2 microphones on purpose. It was completely staged to bring up the point. One of them actually didn't even have any batteries in it, I think. But as I hear the word efficiency, being an operator and being very focused on profitability, EBITDA, and the P&L, I think maybe a more important word is efficacy. Because I can be very efficient, but if the output doesn't yield profitability, I don't care how efficient I am. So it's really, will technology provide efficacy? And by efficacy, I mean ultimately increase shareholder value and the profitability of the organization. And again, the simple answer, the distilled answer for me is it can. The question is, will it?
Hisham.
I agree with my colleagues here on the panel that technology is very important in improving efficiency. And I think the biggest winner in all of this is really the consumer, who's now swimming in a wealth of options, looking at different apps, looking at different competitors, I would say. So it has so many advantages, but it also has some disadvantages for the brands, because now you're on platforms where you have to compete for, I would say, eyeballs, for attention, you have to make more offers and so on. So it comes with its benefits and disadvantages as well.
It sure does.
I think the problem has been, what you're saying in a nutshell is that problem was created by technology, and now technology is trying to rescue you from that. The options that consumers have, it is a response, of how a customer wants to interact with your brand. And I can tell you from my experience, and we see this across the globe. We have customers across 52 countries. So from that vantage point, we can clearly see that I can literally see an era, before and after, not COVID, but before and after 2017. So 2017 to 2020, and then 2020, we know what happened. I don't think a lot of things that we feel COVID brought were brought by COVID. They were just accelerated. Customers were already struggling to, talk to your brand, interact with your brand through digital channels, through channels which were more convenient. And while those channels were growing, COVID was just, a kick, and it accelerated all those trends, to a great extent. So, consumer is still, continues to. So I believe that earlier when we were selling tech to the restaurants, we were trying to tell them, hey, you know what? You want this. But as soon as those trends they got accelerated, they became a need. So it's more of a need now because your consumer is interacting a certain way.
Melon was keen to come in there.
Yeah, so, I'm glad you mentioned COVID because, so one is, technology, AI, we're going to discuss these things in a bit. You have to jump on the trend, right? I don't think we have an option. But then sometimes we forget, a few years back, and I'm glad you mentioned it, when the pandemic happened, we had to, there are things that were accelerated, from our side, delivery business, the growth in the delivery business was amazing, and this was, a wave that we took on board. So sometimes we forget that in a pandemic, you have to resort to technology, whether you like it or not. And now what's happening, post-pandemic, with AI and what's happening every day, it's so fast, and for people, I'm like you, David, I know little about tech. I'm happy that the team that we have, they know a lot about tech, and we have to really adopt everything that's happening in the market.
I have a view that COVID is, I think we're done with COVID now. I think we've learned our lessons from COVID, and we've come out of that disastrous period, which for many prospered, many didn't. But I think since then, the part of the world we're in, we truly have prospered, and I think tech has enabled many things. And we're now seeing this wave of this AI that's hitting us now. AI is taken over. I talked about the work that I've done with Scylla, for example, how they can read Arabic sentiment, what people are thinking, what people are talking about, and how that is influencing the world. Let's talk about AI if we can. Okay. Phil?
I'm looking forward to meeting AI because it will tell me what I'm thinking. I think AI is going to play an amazing part of our growth in hospitality, but I think particularly in drive-through. And I think that that experience is becoming more and more important in terms of the industries I'm in, and the multinationalities that we have across this region, and the ability to have people to interact with people through a drive-through is actually really difficult. And we're opening massively now across Saudi Arabia, and Arabic is key. You can't recruit all Arabic speaking. And so to have that technology that can actually interpret and translate and predict, if you order a milkshake with us, it puts in Frosty, right? It's that kind of technology I think will really help and improve the experience for the customer. But I think we should only be looking at if it's going to improve the experience of the customer. And I think we've got to get back to talking about how do we serve people better, how do we drive loyalty, and make sure the experience is one that they want to come back for.
It's almost turning this hypothesis on its head here, isn't it? Rather than looking about saving costs, excuse me, and rather than saving costs, let's start right at the beginning. Yeah. If I've ordered a milkshake, what's coming next? And has that technology remembered, Phil, that he had a chocolate milkshake and he had a donut and he had a burger at the same time? And is he going to remember your number plate with the next time you pull up? And is that order going to be preloaded, et cetera, et cetera? Who else is working with AI?
Just on this point and what Phil mentioned, this is an extremely important point. So, today, the priority is the customer experience, this is what you're looking after. So, interestingly, we were having few meetings in one of our stores, and then one of our baristas comes across and asks the customer, he's like, I haven't seen you in a while, right? And I haven't seen your friend. And she said, I was busy, blah, 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 my friend was traveling. So I wonder, that emotional attachment, emotional touch with customers, can AI do it? God knows. Having said that, we are using AI tools to do a list of things, and we're going to talk about them. But I don't think we can replace that customer interaction, emotional touch, and we don't want
You're right. And I think it is an enabler, I think. AI is here to stay. Customer service is here to stay. Personality is here to stay. None of that is going to change. It's how do we lean on each other to make them work for each other. What about in Jollibee? What are you doing? How is that helping you?
To be honest, we have not started with AI or looked at solutions for AI, because I think before we do that, we have to get the foundation right. AI can work very well with great data, so the data has to be clean, it has to be correct. Otherwise, all the analysis of the AI will go wrong. So we're building our foundation now on upgrading our point of sale system, upgrading our data intake. We're trying to work with delivery companies that provide us with data. And I think that's a trend that's probably going to change in the future, hopefully, which is a big discussions of who owns the data and who owns the customer, really. But that's a different debate. So I think adapting AI in a fast food restaurant where you have very large volume of transaction is a bit challenging. So you have to build the foundation first, and once you know that your data is ready for AI integration and analysis and predictive data, that's when you start welcoming companies who can provide you with these solutions.
Yeah. James, from a culinary perspective, where does AI kind of fit with you?
Well, I think it helps us utilize the insights. There's lots of data out there, artificial intelligence and machine learning, sentiment analysis, learning the not only the purchase habits of our consumers, but their wants. How do they tailor their products? How do they, do they purchase something if football's on? Do they purchase something different? Is there a dining habit change that happens at various times in the year? Being from the United States, most Americans starting tomorrow are on about a 6-week eat as much as we can. That's kind of the holidays in the US. It's a little different. Many folks in this room from different parts of the world where they celebrate having so much by remembering what it's like to not have so much. So if they're celebrating the wealth of their nation or how well their family's doing, they fast. In America, if we celebrate having so much, we try to consume it all as quickly as possible. But what we see is in January and February, there's a dining change trend. And I've seen that you can really influence the customer experience by understanding on an individualized basis how those changes change on a customer-by-customer basis based on time of year. We've even seen weather changes that in the US using AI to really analyze how weather, how sporting events change the purchase intent of our consumers. One of the things I think is interesting, we talk a lot about AI and how it will impact the customer experience, which I think is super interesting. And I think it's important to remember, yes, we're still going to have that human interaction where AI is backing up a human-to-human interaction. But certainly within this group, we realize that there's an awful lot of transactions now that have no human interaction one-to-one. And really, AI is now the CSR. But one of the things I look at that I think is maybe slightly controversial, we see this, will AI, is it going to replace the workforce? And I don't know that we're there yet. I haven't seen that effectively done. Even when I see robotics or AI going into, let's say, a pilot plant setting, it's still incredibly clumsy. And from a return on investment, the return on investment's not there. So even if you're replacing 3 employees, you're replacing 3 employees with a robot that costs 4 times as much as the 3 employees. So what I look at is certainly for the immediate foreseeable future that AI is going to allow us to better the efficacy, the output, the efficiency, and the lives of our employees. And I think that's really exciting right now. So certainly in the foreseeable future, I don't see it really replacing employees as much as making them more efficient at what they do and making their work lives better. And I think that's a great way to start.
I think haven't McDonald's launched a completely staffless, not intentional, unintentional, McDonald's.
I think everyone's got, labour cost is one of the highest costs we incur, right, across the region. Everyone's looking at how they can reduce their labour cost. And probably the utopia for tech is to have a completely faceless meal experience. And I think that is probably where the industry may well go wrong. I think we are in the hospitality industry at every level, and yes, there is a moment where people just want speed and they want food very quickly because they're hungry and service the need. But I'm not sure if everybody does exactly the same and goes that route. I'm not sure who will win out of that because I think many of us sitting in this room today or in this industry and remember the experience because of a person, or they remember when they go through the door, or someone goes over and above, looks after the children, whatever it is. And I think those things will what drive hospitality and tourism. And I think tech will have a big place for us as we move forward and does it today, but still the customer has to come first. And I think if you research customers at the moment about how they felt about some of these dining experiences where you can spend $200 a head and not meet anybody and not have any service and not have any advice or upselling or recommendation, are you going to go back, right? And
pretty miserable, wouldn't it?
Pretty miserable experience. That means you've got to talk to your wife the whole time.
Oh God.
So I think there are, I love tech. I think it really helps on efficiency, on labor scheduling, on kind of visualization for customers. But I think it can go too far. And I'm watching AI with interest, right?
No, I think plus one to that. And representing a tech company, I can tell you that, one is that AI is going to replace humans is, just stretching your imagination, too far, too quick. Especially in the restaurant context, I think anybody who's trying to replace humans, I don't know if it will happen or not, but probably is looking at AI wrong. As a tech company, we feel extremely responsible for the fact that we should not be trying to build a tech looking for the problem. And force-fitting AI into anything and everything, I don't think that's going to serve anybody well, both from the innovation perspective as well as the usage. I think what we have seen is that from a bottom line efficiency perspective, there is so much in the back end, there's so much in the back of the house, there's so much happening in the kitchen, where improving not only the life but the output of that, somebody on the assembly line, is the returns are greatest, right? So you save 1 minute in between, and that compounds into like 7-8 minutes, per order, and that can make a lot of difference. For example, we have deployed AI in some pieces. We are keeping it slow. Our innovation is actually faster. We are commercializing it very, very slow. So we are making sure that any piece of AI that we put into the product, there is a customer who raises the hand and say, hey, I'm ready to test this. We actually make sure that we do it in the short loops, and that's what I, tell every restaurateur, every brand, that, have those small experiments and know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think humans are getting out of kitchens as well, even with robots. I think only thing that a noble thing to achieve is that, probably less skilled humans will be able to create highly skilled, outputs. Bases, robots, AI, and when machines are probably doing something better than what a human mind can do. So for us, I think the success has been there so far in the kitchen prediction and planning system, where we can almost, in certain cases, and this applies to certain cuisines, fried chicken is one of the use cases where we were able to actually predict up to 98.5% efficiency. The volume of the batches of the chicken that need to be fried. And we are trying to still see it in the use cases and the areas where we can actually take into account weather conditions outside, day of the year, day of the week, of the month, game seasons, etc. And can we predict that demand on an hourly or half-hourly basis? That has been quite a success so far, but there's so much else in the works everywhere in the world, not only us.
I wonder if it could, at some stage, it can write our university thesis, whether it could write our menus for us, perhaps at some stage. And listening to all of that, it's going to be a hot summer's day. This is my concept, and I've got 10,000 people driving past. What is the ideal menu based on my trading history?
But you know what? That's actually not. That dreamy, because if you see what happened in FMCG. It's precisely that.
That's happening.
Yeah, who wins the race of the FMCG today? Making a cookie, and of course, with due respect to anybody who's making the best cookies in the world, but for the rest, it's not really the art of making a cookie. It's about how do you package, what shelf you're on, how do you market, how do you catch the attention. Somebody else is manufacturing, somebody else is supplying, somebody else is selling, and largely the company is actually just a branding company. If I oversimplify that is going to hit the restaurants probably in the bottom and the mid. The top ones who are talking about delivering experience will always remain at the top of the game. I don't think humans are getting replaced there.
Yeah, sure. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think for AI tools, we use whatever works for us, right? So if you look at the coffee shop business, you don't want to be overstaffed, right? So labor cost is very important. But then if you're understaffed, you're losing sales. So can we get to that optimum level of staffing that would deliver the customer experience and you not being overstaffed or understaffed? Yes, so we can use that. Do you want to use AI to replace the baristas? Definitely not. So I think for any company out there, use AI tools, wherever you see benefit, whatever works for you specifically, and not really go to the extreme that AI is going to sort of replace everyone.
I remember, I'm going to take us back a little bit because I took us into the future a bit too quickly, but I remember, when I was running restaurants and...
Can you remember that one?
I do remember that, yes.
I knew him 40 years ago.
Well, I was barely a child. And, but I remember, when we wanted to introduce handhelds into the restaurant, and there's, oh my goodness, they're going to spend all their time looking into screens, and they're not going to do it. And calm down, dear. It'll be okay. But and they're pretty much normal now. What have we introduced into your businesses that, in your minds, have been quite revolutionary, that have kept the personality in the business, where the waitress and the service can be themselves?
Yeah, I think you raised handhelds, but I think they were the savior during COVID.
Definitely.
In that, you're serving customers on the pavement rather than coming into stores. That has now changed to being second cup in, cafe out. So now the customer doesn't have to come up to get another cup of coffee, they go to them. So that whole technology evolves, right? From car service to in-store to on the terraces outside. So I think it's very simple technology that the teams understand and are used to. And we're continuing to push that as a way to kind of upsell in a nice kind of way. If you think about a coffee shop, you sit down, you have your PC with you, you don't leave the PC, you don't leave your bag. It's okay in Dubai, obviously, but other parts of the world not so good. But it enables you to, for our baristas to go and serve customers, which I think is it's not new, as you said. You had that all those years ago, but I think it's been used in a different way now and keeps hospitality at the front of it, and our customers be interacting with our teams. I mean, old technology, but new uses, I think.
Yeah, very much. And did you want to add to that?
I think from our perspective, we always look at what type of customer we're dealing with and what does the customer prefer in terms of usage of technologies. So we've noticed that repeat customers want to deal less with human and more with just repeating the order by using their app or using the self-ordering kiosk or the QR codes. And they have their headphones and they're listening to the music. They just want to go in, order, pay, and get the food and eat it and leave. I was in the Hatta near the desert. We're biking there, and I was surprised. We walk into this small cafeteria in the middle of nowhere, and they have a table and a QR code. So we were able to place the order, make a payment in the middle of nowhere, and the food came to us. So surprisingly, if you can go in the middle of the desert and use that kind of technology, and you wonder why aren't we implementing that in our restaurants in the middle of the city. But for a small shop to do that, or a small cafe, is much easier than a 300,000 transaction a month type of business, and making sure that you don't lose the human element of that as well. So this has been our experience, basically.
Yeah, that's fun.
I think it's also a function of, though I run a tech company, I'm quite old school when it comes to, like as a customer, I want paper menus, I want to talk to the, part of my experience is actually, to talk to the server. But I think a couple of years back, when we were being asked by our customers that, hey, we need a QR code solution, we need, self-ordering solution. In all honesty, while we built the early version, back in the day, I was kind of against it. I almost told our sales team that, don't sell this. This is not going to work. It's a checkbox. Customer wants it, great, but don't worry about it. But I think two things have, I was wrong. And two things happened there. One, I think customers have become DIY. You're spending so much time on your phone for literally everything and anything. that it's just convenience. I don't think that it's the other way around. It's not that somebody does not want to interact with a human. They're okay. That's absolutely fine. Just that they're so used to pulling out their phone. So when I go outside in the restaurants today, I mean yesterday, and 4 people on the table, and I'm the one grumpy and give me a paper menu. And by the time I asked that, 3 other people on my table pulled out their phones and say, "Oh, QR code." And I was like, okay, then you guys order. But I think it's just about the habit, convenience. There is a behavioral disruption that mobile phones brought. And I think same happened with the staff. They're also the same people who were quite scared of, what are they getting in their hands, but then they got used to it as well. And I think it's just the behavioral convenience and nothing else. I look at it that. Self-ordering kiosks, for example, is still something for me. It's very interesting to see, because I see on one side countries such as US, large part of Europe, which has a labor deficit right now. It's not really about labor costs. It's about the deficit. There are no people available to do the job. And then there this side of the world where we are technically labor surplus. We would love to save costs every day. But I see self-ordering kiosks getting quite accepted in both sides for different reasons. And that's quite amazing to me. I'm experiencing it through the eyes and the experience of our customers. I think they're here to stay and going to prosper.
I picked something up there that I think there's a real opportunity here, where in other parts of the mature parts of the world where labor costs are $20 an hour, 20 euros an hour, it's mind-numbing there. Whereas here labor is not at that level, yet they are tech savvy. And is there a further opportunity there to maximize both, maybe invest a little bit more in a tech savvy young labor workforce to enable super efficiency on the floor?
Absolutely, and that's just happening like quite automatically. That I don't think there's a force needed in adoption as much today as it was barely like a couple of years back.
Interesting. Do you ever see the time, Phil, where you don't have counters in your coffee shops or your fast food restaurants, where customer comes in, orders his own, goes and picks it up, or it's brought out from the kitchen to you?
100%. I mean, I obviously have Costa as one of the brands we operate, and they're using robotics now. So they have a fully automated robotic barista in the States being tested, which is in one of the airports. So I do see that it going that way, and I think there are certain locations where it work. I mean, airports particularly a classic example of how the amount of traffic going through. But I think it's a lifestyle thing as well. Why do people go to coffee shops? And you go down to Kite Beach this morning, and everyone's sitting around here with chat and a cup of coffee and enjoying the sunshine and the interactions. That wouldn't be an environment where necessarily you want to go and kind of have zero contact with anybody. But I think, yes, certainly see it as it's coming. I mean, now, when you start looking at menu boards, you don't know if they're looking at you to see what you're looking at. Should we take these menu items off? He's not looking at that item. So I think it will definitely move that way. I think fast food, Wendy's we have, that is a really easy way to do it, right? You can just go up, press your order, out it comes, no interaction with people. So I think there are, certainly that's going to be in the future. But I think you also have to make sure that you remain 100% customer focused, understand what they want. What is the customer journey on the different locations you're in? Because it is about location, right? Where you'd use this technology. But certainly over time, maybe not in my time, but it will be something that will definitely happen, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've had 2 clients, one at the quite high end, one at the developing casual fast food level, where they're saying, we are a tech company.
Yeah.
And every element has to be tech enabled, whatever that is. And it's flipping that mindset from personality is a given, service is a given, food is a given, hot tasty food, cold tasty food is a given. We have to have all that. Everything must be tech enabled. And it's interesting how that flips.
Yeah, but I think, David, if you look at it now, I'll give you the other side of that.
Yeah.
Right? Training is still fundamental to what we do.
Yeah.
And go into a restaurant where the EPOS system has gone down, where POS isn't working, in a busy environment, and you ask for the bill, and they've got to write everything down, and they don't know what the menu items are. They've no idea what the pricing is because they haven't had to look at it ever. They haven't had to interact with you before, and the whole place falls apart. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have a great stable system, 100% of the time, that's great. But I do think that you also have to play for when those experiences are going to go wrong. And if we're operating a store doing not 300,000 transactions a week, but big numbers, and if it goes wrong on your busiest night, those people may not come back, right? Because the experience will be down. So I think you really have to think about how does technology work, and then how does technology work when it doesn't work, right? And then that's your reliance on great people, and you have to make sure they're trained no matter what you're doing. Right?
Yeah, definitely. Did anybody want to add on to that? Because I've got. Okay, so what are anything emerging? Any trends in the F&B business that we haven't touched upon that is out there that you're perhaps working with at the moment that you might like to share?
I think the one piece that I'm fascinated by is how people work around our stores and around our kitchens. And I think if you look at, I take rugby now, you've all got a tag on their kit and they run around, they know where they've been, they know what they've done, they know when they've been, how many yards or meters they've run or whatever. And I think now there is a need to actually really analyse the amount of time people spend on their feet in a shift and where do they have to go to get everything. And I think that will really help with labour planning, with how what are they producing. But no one's done it yet. I mean, there's one I saw a couple of weeks ago that was showing, when customers are sitting at tables, what do they actually do versus what the staff do, and can you reduce the number of staff because of the type of customer you've got coming into the store. So I think there's a lot happening, and we're certainly looking at how we do with that labour scheduling. We're lucky in most of our markets we're full-time contracts, but part-time labour is going to become key for us, particularly in Saudi Arabia. And then a proper labour scheduling system will be a great need for us. But there isn't one there yet that does everything we want to do. So we're kind of developing that.
Yeah.
But
We did that in England actually. I think having the tags on the I think it's a brilliant idea. But we literally have people with stopwatches.
Yes, right.
Guest comes in, serve it, and we literally mapped it out because labour was then crippling. And so we even with. In the hotel service, when the chambermaid comes in the room, she's already wiping the sills down as she's walking up to turn the telly off. So, that's it's almost that room service journey as well as the guest journey, the server journey.
I mean, it's not a trend. I think it's something that everyone is familiar with. But I mean, there's the whole loyalty app and loyalty aspect of customers, which is something. I'm not sure if it's sort of underestimated, but once we started working on that aspect a year back, and we're still developing our own app, we're surprised how our customers really interacted, and now we have a sizable amount of sales on the loyalty app. We're like, okay, and now consumer behavior, preferences. I think that piece of tech is also important. It's not a recent trend. Probably everyone knows about it. But for the coffee shop business, it's very important. It's very important to us. And we really think it's another way of connecting to our consumers through tech. So that's something we're excited about, and we want to sort of develop further.
How much is that driving your business, your loyalty app?
I mean, we were surprised to have 20% of our sales today through loyalty app, which is a bit crazy. And if this can go further, I think in the US, I don't know, Starbucks maybe has 50% of their sales on the app. So if we can start looking at such numbers, this is basically that's very important for the customers and for us in terms of communication, in terms of delivering what's important for them. And really delivering to our loyal, regular, habitual customers, who pass by every day for their cup of coffee.
Same at Jollibee's. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's quite funny. The Costa app we have is quite interactive. And we put on it that if you did 10,000 steps a day for a week, right, 70,000 steps, you get a free coffee. And sales free coffee went through the roof. And people were sitting at their desk going, like, just shaking their phones all day long. Thought we were drinking too much coffee. So we had to look at it and see how do we, make sure they're actually walking So people kind of get around it, but it was a lot of fun, and the staff had a lot of fun with it. Great to see you're losing weight, not, but you have your free coffee. And so I think the app is fundamental. We've got hundreds of thousands of people on our app. It's probably 40% of our revenue now comes through the app, but we have to keep it fresh. It's a great way to advertise new products. But it's also a really good way for our team to interact with people about, how many beans have they collected. We'd like the free coffee this morning, free croissant, and you wiggle the phone and it gives you the offer of the day. So I think interaction and fun, the app is key for us, and we see it continuing to evolve.
Do you see collecting more and more data on that, Phil? So, we touched on AI, but, in terms of predictive ordering, predictive visits, predictive spend, etc., and then perhaps linking that to sentiment. I know we might be getting a bit deep here, a bit scientific.
I think as soon as they scan, the barista knows who they are and what their previous order was. They can say, would you like the same as you had yesterday, if they haven't seen them before. So I think all that technology is helping in terms of the interactions of customer and our baristas. But I think that will continue to grow. We know who spends with us. We know what nationalities spend. We know what certain nationalities buy from us. And so we can predict kind of when the customer comes in, if they can read who they are or where they're from, then we can predict what they're going to buy. So I think it's going to evolve and continue to evolve, but linking the app to the customer's buying behaviors is the future, right? But as long as the barista can interact, or the server in a Wendy's can interact and make sure that the recommendation is right, because if someone's vegetarian, the last thing they want is a Dave single, right? So you've got to make sure that they predict the right thing.
Yeah.
So, but the app is definitely the way forward.
Yeah.
But cross-border is quite difficult here, right? So we're running 4 countries, and to get a cross-border app financially is
challenging.
Yeah, in terms of the banking system and everything else. So, but I definitely the app is the way
What
forward.
about with Jollibees?
For us, to be honest, we're late adopters of the app. And the reason why, because we always have thought about, can we possibly compete with third parties' development and the financial strength that they have and the technological strength that they have. So you always ask ourselves, should we build our own app? And what is the benefit of that? Loyalty, obviously, is very important. Owning the data is very important. But at some point, I'm hoping that the business model for the third-party delivery companies will start changing, and they'll start to share that data, which is hopefully a dream come true for us. And if they don't, at some point, we'll definitely have to build our own app. And once you do that, you have to make sure that your app is so good and much better than the customer's experience with the third-party apps, which also a challenge that we'll try to overcome. Giving customers special, I would say, orders or special products that you can only find in our app, or more points, we'll try to attract more customers that way. So we're still looking for the right partner to build the app with. Right now, we heavily depend on our online website to order, our call center. We're one of the first international Jollibee franchisees that have a call center because even before COVID, we felt that the delivery business is going to boom, and now it's about 40% of our business is all delivery. So we're lucky when COVID hit, we were well prepared for it. So now moving forward, we're trying to look at technology to, I would say, prepare us to serve our customers better in the back end, and not necessarily on the front end. We're leaving that for the third parties. And slowly we have a team that is very focused on the human interaction when it comes to customer complaints. Because we notice with consumers, when they want to order something, they don't want to deal with human, but when it comes to raising a complaint, they don't want to deal with a machine. It's because they want to voice out the complaint, then you have to negotiate with them how you're going to recover, what kind of compensation. And that's where we see we probably will never automate customer recovery or getting feedback from the customers.
No, sure.
I think just a comment on the apps. I think I don't think aggregators or marketplaces are going to start sharing data, ever. That's definitely against their marketplace.
I think we were more talking about the loyalty apps than the aggregators.
Yeah, but
that's a whole conference for those guys.
But I think what I from my experience and our work, what we have seen is that if you're a brand which is high frequency, sort of cafe, coffee, or you're a comfort food sort of brand, and you're also omnipresent, or let's say you're a national phenomena in your own country, in your own region. I think having an app is really about having another touch point for your customer. Will they really, start ordering from your app? That's quite a tall ask, because it's really about the convenience of the customer, who is familiar with a certain aggregator app, and it's not really about, your app. So I generally tell people that, when you don't have an app of your own, you have one problem. But when you have an app of your own, you have two problems. Because running that app, servicing, customer requests, you said, about call center, so many brands in the world, actually after launching their own app, discovered that how much of the customer feedback and customer servicing was being absorbed by the marketplace, which suddenly fell onto their brands. And I'm not saying they were not, thinking through that, but I think everybody underestimated the, the magnitude of it. I think it's a great idea to have a loyalty app, but brand needs to really understand what their customer loyalty means. Is it discounting? Is it frequency? Is it like an extra coffee? Maybe I was just thinking, maybe it's complaint. Maybe it says, hey, if you have a problem, this is where we are. Even if you have ordered from Talabat or Uber Eats or Deliveroo or any other one, we'll service you directly. But for brands, it's not really about launching your app. I think there is a lot more that needs to be done to figure out why your customer is going to be loyal to your app, and what is the reason why not only they will download it, but hold on to it. Getting an order from that is purely hope.
Yeah.
So I think I own my customer, and I don't want anyone else to own. So if there's a problem with that customer, I'd like to own that customer experience. So I think Click and Collect has been a phenomenal success, right? Across the world, and I think Click and Collect is a way to go to make sure you do own that whole customer experience. And I think the app offers me the ability to link in with banks, etc., who have enormous databases that, giving a customer a free coffee when they go and use the ATM and it's funded 50% by the bank or whatever, is, I think, great opportunity for us to kind of co-invest in marketing and building brands. So I think that the aggregators are different, but I think an app enables me to connect with so many different people who have much bigger databases than I do, who are my target customer. And we can also then start sharing, when customers are using us. So I think ultimately, I believe that apps are key for restaurant owners or coffee shop owners, because the traffic you have and can predict through the app is important. And I want to own that loyalty and make sure if a customer does have a complaint, that we can pick it up very quickly and deal with it and treat it with the utmost importance. I think sometimes when that goes to a third party, call center's fantastic, right? We have one, people can call us straight away. If it's that bad, it comes to me. If someone goes to Wendy's and there's a complaint, it comes to me immediately, right? So we know exactly what our customer experiences are like. And I think that's loyalty will play out. I think loyalty will be key. And online reviews, you see them all the time. How quickly do we respond? There's so many different avenues for customers to connect with you. But if you can get everyone onto the app, I think we'll be in a much happier place here.
Definitely. We got 10 or 12 minutes left. I don't know if there's any roving mics. Anybody got anything that they want to ask? Ask the team here. Sir. Thank you, Anna. This guy here.
Good morning, everyone. After listening to the discussion about the technologies, I have one question. Digital technologies cause slow job creation, reduce the number of jobs, etc. How we can balance that employment ratio?
Sorry, I didn't pick up your message, your question.
Digital technology cause slow job creation, reduce the number of jobs. How we can balance that employment ratio?
How can we manage technology with job creation?
I don't think technology reduces the jobs. That's just the euphoria. That's a fear. Around that. I can only give you one example. I think when couple decades back when ATMs started happening, people said, hey, cashiers in the bank are going to lose a job, or probably bank branches will cease to happen. I don't think so. In fact, number of branches in the world have I don't know what's the number, by what magnitude, but they've just increased. I think technology just enables more people to do that job. This is the same thing that happened, I mean, it's a little philosophical and information, but in the Industrial Revolution, artisans said that, hey, machines are going to take away our jobs. No. As an artisan, you used to make something of like, 10 pieces. Machines allowed you to make 10,000 pieces. You were still relevant. And in fact, more number of people who were not artisans were on the assembly line. I think the real fear, which is valid in technology, is that skills can become underrated because technology can fill a lot of those gaps. That means you can, like future that I see at least, is that we will have a lot of people who will be operating at minimum wages. And while the minimum wages will also grow, to some level of prosperity, but a lot of people will be able to do a lot of things because it will be technology enabled, and individual skills, beyond thinking will, won't be as cool.
Anybody else? Sorry, anybody else wanted to add to that? Yeah.
I mean, to add to what you said also, it's really a shift of skill set and shift in jobs. So you're going to have some jobs created, some sort of replaced, some that would require us working with AI and what have you. So it's really about shift in jobs and skill set rather than, technology is going to replace jobs.
Yeah, I have a few. I was talking with, I think it's Omar from Watermelon earlier, and how he is enabling tech from the complete supply chain, connecting farmers to restaurants. That was very, very interesting. Sorry.
Hello. Mine is not.
Technology.
Yeah, mine is not a question, but just add on because we are talking about save costs and boost line of efficiency. When it comes to that, I worked closely with manufacturing for coffee equipment, and we worked in the last decades just to create equipment that is saving costs, but also helping who has especially in fast food, when you have maybe 1,000 coffee shop, and how you can control the coffee shop, how you control the efficiency, and introducing telemetry to this equipment and the saving costs also to control the recipes. This is a part that is huge. I know today it was amazing listening to you, but it was a part that when it comes to the sales and the loyalty, but behind we have to think also about the production, about the operation, and here sometimes it's like a company provider of equipment, we face an issue that to explain that is what is the most important also a technology of the equipment that's serving a coffee. When it comes to a cup of coffee, to control if I have a cup of coffee, it's coming in 10 seconds, or how to control an issue when it's happening in a coffee machines. How one of my technicians, online, they can also check and fix the issue. This is a huge cost that's coming to the equipment, and also for all the fast food chains especially. And I would love maybe in the next, it will be something that we connect, not only at the last stage to offering a service, but also behind what is coming behind. This is important.
Sure.
And maybe next time would love also, it's nice to see, but maybe to see also a woman in the stage,
I would like to see a woman on the stage as well. You're
Yes.
absolutely right. Well, we have a woman running on
women,
stage. Yeah.
Come on stage.
I don't know if something that we are talking about technology, we don't introduce women, but I think it's something that you have to consider for the next event.
Well, we'll pick it up with Minnie, the female
Amazing.
over the conference.
Thank you
and
so
the-
much. It
the
was really
female
amazing listening to you.
All right, thank you.
I think I learned a word somewhere. I was on a panel, and I was saying panel, and a lady messaged me and she said no, it was a manel. So I was like, okay. Whenever I see this, I'm like, oh, I'm on a manel.
I didn't. They're all my friends now, but I didn't invite them personally. It was Minnie that invited them. Did anybody want to come back on that?
You raise a very good point. I think, two very good points. Firstly, yes, 50% female would be great up here, and that's one of our targets we have as an organisation. I think, though, on technology of coffee, we are really interested in terms of costs across the Middle East to look at how we can improve efficiency through better machines. We are a handcrafted coffee business. However, technology doesn't actually beat the baristas if we train them properly. And so, but what it does beat is in consistency of milk foaming and the coffee and the technology behind, how do we report the machine going wrong or whatever. So I think you raised a really good point, but I would love to find a machine that can be the barista and consistently give the same product, because half the time, like a drive-through, the customer doesn't even see the handcrafted coffee, right? So if it can be produced as fast and as good a quality, I'd sign up tomorrow.
Yeah. One more question from the audience.
Hello. Hi, my name is Maya. I'm head of marketing of Bika Nervala. So you have mentioned that you are looking into that apps are part of the future, but then also you mentioned you're talking about aggregators. So I'm definitely in confirming on the side of the level what they can reach, and I'm trying to drive that in the brand itself to understand the overall positioning of a brands where you can be in so much value of the public when it comes to aggregators. And on the side of loyalty, we are just now in setting a new kind of a loyalty program for us. And I think that's a big still question how we can drive, because if you come to a loyalty in your app, it will mostly come through the in-store dining level, where the aggregators and using that type of platforms would be the ones that would reach on the kind of a overall ordering system. So what do you think, how you can generate more over sale when it comes to your internal app from online orders, not in the dine-in when you will just dine and get on rewards, and how do you think that could leverage to the aggregators level?
Anybody want to pick that up? Go on.
I think, that's exactly what I said. I'm probably just going to reiterate my point. I think having an app has nothing to do with customers' will, to use that app. And how aggregators, work, how marketplaces work is very different. How customer perceives, let's say, an aggregator app versus your brand's app. I think before you, just try to force or ask or lure a customer into, logging onto your website or app, you need to define your relationship with them. For example, and I'm just taking some random examples. For example, we all know Starbucks is one of the, most successful loyalty programs. And, just a basic stamp on each coffee, on a card, made customer realize that, hey, if I start going back to Starbucks for my coffee, there's going to be a free coffee at the end of 5. Now, this is a compelling relationship. This is a relationship which Starbucks made, irrespective of where customer came from. They might have come from a billboard. They might have come because it was on a high street, but there were 3 more coffee shops on the high street. So they realized that we just need to make sure that we are preferred. If Starbucks thinks that just by giving free coffee, customers are going to come out of the comfort of their home and then come to Starbucks, I don't think that's going to happen. So you need to figure out what's your relationship with your customer and what is a disproportionate advantage a customer has to order from your app. And it cannot be same as aggregator. If your app and aggregator's app are placed side by side and they are the same experience for the customer is going to choose the aggregator because that's convenient and you're not.
Yeah, I think the whole aggregator thing, we'll flip that onto another conference and another panel, I think. But I think we've resolved quite a lot up here, and I think we've put more questions than we have answers. But thanks, everybody, and we've finished on time. Thank you.
Hey, David.
Thank you so much to David for moderating that panel. Wonderful, wonderful session, and thank you so much.